Thank you, Ms. Cooper. I now recognize myself for 5 minutes of questions. Mr. Jones, reportedly, the majority of NATO allies are coalescing around the need to provide Ukraine a clear path towards membership once conditions allow. Does the administration support NATO emerging from Vilnius with a stronger political commitment to Ukraine's NATO membership bid than what then was expressed in 2008? Specifically, as I mentioned in my opening statement, I am concerned by reports that the U.S., Germany, and Hungary are the most resistant to moving beyond the 2008 wording.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think it's the top goal of the United States, and I think of all allies for the Vilnius summit, that we come out with a strong, unified message of support for Ukraine. And I think we're on track to achieve that. Allies will, of course, as you mentioned, reaffirm Bucharest summit language that Ukraine will become a member of NATO, but we are preparing to go beyond that in several important ways. I think, first of all, is by backing that up with increased levels of non-lethal support through NATO's comprehensive assistance package that Ukraine needs now to help it prevail in its war with Russia. Secondly, we're developing what is an unprecedented package of long-term support that signals that the alliance's commitment to Ukraine is for the long run. This long-term support is focused specifically on preparing Ukraine for future NATO membership by advancing Ukraine's reform agenda and helping it to meet NATO's membership standards. NATO is also preparing to upgrade its partnership with Ukraine to include a new consultative body, the NATO-Ukraine Council, where Ukraine will sit on an equal basis with allies to advance the political dialogue and also Ukraine's Euro-Atlantic aspirations. The Ukraine and all allies agree that Ukraine cannot join the alliance during an active conflict. But NATO can provide Ukraine with the long-term support it needs to advance its reform agenda so that it can be ready to join the alliance when conditions permit.
Does the administration have a plan to engage Congress on this issue, particularly given it will likely require additional funding?
Yes, sir. We're always available to consult on this issue, and I think that's part of what we're looking forward to hearing today.
Ms. Cooper, yesterday this committee passed mine and Ranking Member Keating's bipartisan resolution supporting the immediate transfer of ATACMS to Ukraine. Unfortunately, this administration continues to deny these critical systems to Ukraine. Do you agree that ATACMS would be useful to Ukraine's counteroffensive?
Mr. Chairman, I think there are many capabilities that are useful, and when we have looked at ATACMS, we have also taken into account other practical considerations like availability and also whether there are substitute systems. And right now, Mr. Chairman, we are seeing the effectiveness of the Storm Shadow system provided by the UK and are finding it to be quite effective.
You have opposed, or excuse me, this administration has opposed ATACMS because they saw it as they have many weapon systems and before as escalatory in nature. But as you just mentioned, the British have sent the Storm Shadow missiles to no reaction by Putin. Is one of your concerns still the ability to escalate the conflict?
Mr. Chairman, my concerns relate to the practical aspects of availability and also whether there are other systems like Storm Shadow, like the ground-launched small-diameter bomb that'll come online this fall, other systems, including UAVs, that can range the same targets. And I would be more than happy to discuss greater details on these issues in a classified setting.
I would appreciate that. Thank you. Ms. Cooper, the Russian military has been using cluster munitions with impunity in Ukraine. Yet the administration has refused to provide similar weapons, known as ATACMS, to Ukraine. I'm aware of the dangers of unexploded ordnances. However, the Ukrainians believe that their battlefield benefits outweigh the costs. And since these would be used on Ukraine's own territory, Kyiv would be incentivized to judicially limit the post-war threat to civilians. Do you think that the ATACMS would be helpful to Ukraine's counteroffensive, particularly in offsetting Russia's quantitative advantage in manpower, armor, and artillery?
Mr. Chairman, our military analysts have confirmed that ATACMS would be useful, especially against dug-in Russian positions on the battlefield. The reason why you have not seen a move forward in providing this capability relates both to the existing congressional restrictions on the provision of ATACMS and concerns about allied unity. But from a battlefield effectiveness perspective, we do believe it would be useful.